Welcome to Fem and Furious, a podcast where pop culture meets a feminine framing. I am your host, Julia Rose Portela, and today we have a very special episode. We are doing a 1970s superlative episode with one beautiful, incredibly talented Laura Van Wormer. For those of you who do not know Laura hosts a podcast called The Class of 74. It's an ongoing story about a high school class from 1971 to 1974. It's an incredible podcast. You should go and listen to it. This podcast marries everything that Laura has ever been interested in, from TV to radio programming at the Newhouse School at Syracuse University, to her editorial tenure at Doubleday, her freelance writing for Lorimar Productions, her 14 novels. Laura even spent 30 years piecing together the true life story of an 18th century actress turned countess. What could be more joyful than writing a story about high school in the early 70s, knowing that she doesn't have to go back and live it again? I can't wait for you guys to hear everything that Laura and I talk about, all spanning the amazing decade that was the 70s. But before we get started, let me tell you how you can support and follow the podcast. You can anywhere you get your podcasts. Rate and leave a review, all that good stuff. You know what to do if you have a podcast. You should also go and listen to Laura's podcast, The Class of 74. All of the links for all of this, of course, are going to be in the show notes. I will tell you how to find her. You can also get full video breakdowns on YouTube, on Substack, and on Patreon. If you want other deep dive articles that focus on pop culture, what I'm reading, consuming, digesting, go over to Substack. If you want community, connection, all that kind of stuff, go over to the Patreon. There are full transcripts that are part of the Substack and the Patreon as well. So if you want more accessibility to be able to read the transcript of each episode, those are over on there. You can also follow the podcast on Instagram and on TikTok at Fem and Furious Pod. And of course, you can send us an email at femandfuriouspod@gmail.com. Without further ado, let's get to the interview with Laura. Welcome, Laura.
Well, welcome, Julia. Thank you so much.
I'm so happy you're here.
I know. We have to tell your viewers. I was just telling you I had stayed up. I was watching a lot of your shows and I was laughing, and it did my heart good because
Thank you.
at my age, it's so refreshing to see somebody who is a feminist in the way we all turned into feminists in my class, and then how the country's gone backwards since then. So
Yep.
it's
And that's
wonderful.
what sparked the show.
Yeah, well, you bring anybody who thinks that Julia's inventing anything, which he's inventing is fresh new energy
Thank you.
to the same old dead horse of equal rights for women.
Something that feels like counterintuitive, like we shouldn't be talking about this anymore. Why are we still having this conversation? But we are, so.
Because we just lost control over the rights over our bodies.
Yeah.
After
Well,
50.
when I was writing my pilot episode for Fem and Furious, that was a huge, it came a couple of years after, but, really, and I have Roe v. Wade in my superlatives, but with that in mind, because it really was something that was a little spoiler for jumping ahead, but it really was on my mind when I was creating the show. Just, the people that raised me, the people that I admire, the people I looked up to the most, and how they talked about the world and the world that my generation thought that we would inherit. And now the responsibility of what it is to actually have to fight for the thing that we were told that we would just obtain. And in many ways, it's humbling and it's purposeful. I will say, for as long as you can doom scroll, I also feel very hopeful that so many
Yes.
people care. And
Well, that's
it's a
that
weird
light
mixed
in you.
feeling.
That's what's
Yeah.
so appealing about you, Julia. And
Thank
you have a
you.
light,
Thank you so much.
and it's going to be hard to put you out.
Keep talking.
Well, that's my job because the world needs you.
Oh, thank
We're
you.
all lonely out here. This world is completely messed up. And, you got to take your nice, smart people where you can find them.
Thank you so much.
and spend time with them. That's what's so great about podcasts.
Well, I love your show. Your show is really unique. So I don't want
It's very
to
strange.
describe it to listeners. I would like
Sure,
for you to describe it, and then I will tell people
sure.
about my experience with it.
Well, maybe I should just tell them a little bit about that accident that I
Yeah.
wrote you about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I was a full-time novelist and actually an editor too, and I was going to the airport, 15. I was going to Los Angeles to see Betty White, wonderful Betty
Yeah.
White. She was working on a new book, and I was going out. I was doing a friend a favor, and I was going out to help her uh, get going on it. And on the way, a drunk driver got on the Merritt Parkway and came the wrong way through the Heroes Tunnel. Don't know if you guys know Connecticut, but the Heroes Tunnel is where Sleeping Giant is in the middle of Connecticut. So he came flying through the tunnel, and that was it. I woke up like a month later and was so lucky. But I lost one of the many things that I lost was my old voice. And I was a real loudmouth. And I used to love doing readings and stuff. But I went to my 50th reunion in Darien, Connecticut, and I went to the dinner and nobody could hear me. And I just wasn't used to it. And when I was in high school, I used to stop keg parties and say, wait, 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 everybody, listen, I've got a story I'm going to read you. I just wrote it. And it's like, oh, God, Laura, shut up. But I would do it anyway. And that was the feeling I had at the reunion. I wanted to stop the dinner and make everybody listen to me, read a story just to make them all groan. And when I got home, my other half said to me, because I was so depressed about it, and I wasn't able to write fiction anymore. I couldn't write another novel. Um, and, she said, why don't you write your class's story and do it as a podcast? And then they can hear you because of the microphone.
Yeah.
And I'm like, huh. So I started writing a made up story about the first day of high school, except it's not Darien. We call it Brighton because
Yes.
this is fiction, but this is a teenage soap opera about my high school years that all my high school classmates are listening to. But now a bunch of people around the world are listening to it because it's like the past has come alive.
Yeah.
People are morbidly fascinated with what life was like before cell phones were invented, before there were cameras, before there were computers.
Yeah.
If somebody didn't answer their phone, it could mean they were dead on the floor in Paris.
Yeah.
You would never know because there was no
Yeah.
such thing as an answering machine.
Yeah.
Hello.
I know.
And so that world is fascinating. And so we start out, and this is a group of teenagers, and every week we go out with them for an hour and get into trouble. And the backdrop is really all the real stuff that was going on at the time.
Yeah. The
In
show
fact,
is
I should say to people, I thought, gosh, each episode will do like a month, right, of time. Well, I did 25 episodes of the first season, which is like 18 hours of podcasting. And we're only on a week later
Yes.
because so
It's so
much is
great.
happening
Yes.
and I think it's so important. And so do the people listening. They're like, oh my God, President Nixon wasn't such a bad guy,
Yeah.
you know, because he hadn't gotten into trouble yet.
Yeah. That's
The
true.
President Nixon we knew was starting something called the Environmental Protection Agency, which is currently getting dismantled.
Yeah.
But in those days, Republicans thought that Americans had a right to clean water and clean air.
Yeah. Just different worlds, really.
I know. And your parenting, too, was a little, when I say there's no cameras and no phones, nobody knew where their kids were ever.
10
And we were, yeah, and we were all in trouble. So we're 15 years old. We're driving to Portchester, New York to get beer. We're skipping school, all kinds of things. And that's the other thing I wanted to say, Julia. Everybody has a pang here and there, painful memory about high school
Yeah.
or things that happened during that period in their lives,
Yeah.
because you were a helpless kid, right? And stuff happened. We touch on those bad things that happen to people.
Yeah.
But we also put it in a context where A, it's kind of funny, And then B, you stop and think, what? There was no such thing as a drug rehab?
Yeah.
Are you couldn't there was nowhere to send a woman with an alcohol problem?
Yeah.
What do you mean insurance didn't cover psychotherapy? What?
Yeah. You were just diagnosed hysterical until the
Oh, well,
80s,
yeah.
until the mid-80s.
It really, and, so we were all nuts and completely untreated, right? But we did go to church still, some of us, for a while, so we learned, "Oh, God help me." That was our anyway, and it's been so joyous, number 1, because I get to write fiction again, which is all I ever wanted to do in my life. Anyway, it's your show, dear. I should let
No,
you
it's
talk.
okay. I wanna tell you, I'm just gonna take us on a little sidebar for a second. I have 2 cats. I have Watson and Fig. Fig is always doing her own thing.
Is that the white one?
Watson's
But
my white one.
that's your
Watson
co-producer, that's your co-anchor or something,
That's my
co-host.
co-host, yep.
Yeah,
And he usually
beautiful.
wants my attention the second I start doing anything,
Please.
but the second you started talking, he's usually annoying, like, he usually doesn't wanna be held, he just wants to be he is kind of like well, now he's trying to get away, but,
Hi,
and I'll let
baby.
him down, but he the whole time you were talking about your accident was just sitting here and purring.
He was quiet?
He just, I think, wanted to just offer his support for you. Just
No,
I love
I believe completely. I'm a woman who has many well, in fact, my entire household is strays.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah, I'm not your traditional got married, had kids, no. I do have a sister like that and a
Me
brother
neither.
like that, but not me. Excuse me. And I adore animals, and I do think that
Yeah.
there's a spirit. We all connect
Yeah.
in ways, right?
Love it. So he was here. Now he's
He's
on
a
his you're done
sweetie.
talking and about your accident, you moved on. He's like, "Alright, on to the next
She's
thing."
okay. I
Yeah.
don't need to curl up and
Um,
yeah.
so I started listening to your show
I had
and
no idea what I was doing when I started.
but it's so good. So the beginning of the show is well, throughout the duration of the show, but the real beginning of the show as you're starting to, like, hook people in is really historically rooted. Like, you're really setting up people in the historic frame of things first before you get into sort of the characters, the
Explain where the Connecticut suburbs
yeah.
came from, these bedroom communities with all this money in them.
I mean, you so amazing. The research I'm sure that went into this.
Well, I also lived it, right?
Yeah, it's true.
And so many of the things Cynthia and her family have a lot in common with mine, so there are certain things I was very comfortable talking about. And one of the things was this was my chance. Well, let's put it this way. I would go places and people say, "Where are you from?" And I'd say, "I'm from Darien, Connecticut." And they would say, "Well, how does it feel to be from a white ivory tower?"
Yeah,
And it's like, "How? What's?" And I did know growing up that our town was not like the world,
yeah,
and nobody understood how it got that way.
yeah,
This wasn't we all decided to start a town and keep everybody out, but in fact, all these suburbanites commuting into New York, none of them were from here. They were
mhm,
all from the Midwest and the South. These were men who went to college on the GI Bill,
yeah,
either from World War II or the Korean War,
yeah,
and all they were a friend of mine said this so well. All the commuters into New York, our fathers who commuted into New York and worked at all the corporate headquarters of the world, they all dressed alike, the same kind of suits, the same shoes, the same ties.
yeah,
They all looked alike. I mean, just absolutely spiffy. And one of the companies that was big in Darien was IBM. I've been moved, we used to call
mm,
it, because people came through so quickly. But they had a uniform for IBM. There was a dress code for men.
yeah,
And they did this without questioning it because they all had worn uniforms.
yeah,
They had all gotten onto trains and planes and boats and gone halfway around the world to fight in wars. 6 million men came back from World War II and went on the GI Bill
yeah,
to school. And some women too, but I'm just saying that when the
yeah, no,
story
yeah,
opens, it's the men who work and the mothers stay at home. This is not to say anybody's marriage was happy. It's the way they everybody drank a lot in those days, which was also like, veterans because they had the weekends off. So it
Yeah.
was off they went, drinking. And they all got these good jobs. They worked their way up,
Yeah.
They were self-made people. There were a couple of real richy rich,
Yeah.
and we knew who they were, and our friends from the country club who went away to boarding school, but that wasn't us. We were just sort of small town kids whose parents had done very well, and we were the first generation to be told as girls we could be whatever we wanted when we grew up.
Yeah.
'Cause we were going to college, because that was really important to our parents, and girls going to college was I mean, of course, they went, but the world was right on the cusp. We opened the series September 1971, and Cynthia and her friends are going to the first day of high school, the big high school. And it's a different world. Her mother doesn't work. Now, mind you, and I don't want to do any spoilers for 20 years from now if I ever get to 1974, but by the end of their high school class, a lot of mothers are going to be working.
Mm,
Revolution's starting. In fact, I'm just starting to write about one mother who's going to a real estate class, you know?
I love it.
Cynthia makes fun of her own mother because she's on the installment plan going to college. She's been going for like 17 years.
Yeah.
But, once I started writing it, I remembered how different it was. And yet, as a generation, we weren't like baby boomers, the kids from the 60s. We were the liberation generation.
Mhm.
We were the ones who grew up with the women's movement, civil rights movement. Now, gays didn't exist yet, Julia. There was no language yet. I mean, gay was just starting to be used. As Cynthia's mother says, we used to say a man was a little loose in the loafers. That's a gay man,
Yeah.
right? That because they didn't have the terminology. And in the very first episode, somebody calls somebody a faggot,
Yep.
and there's, like, almost a fight. Cynthia's mother's horrified when she uses that word because that was just wrong. And if you know anything about the suburbs in 1971, good manners are everything. And calling people names, well, because that was the other thing about Darien. Everybody's parents had studied good manners because they wanted to fit in.
Yeah.
My real mom was from a little town in Texas, one of 10 kids.
Yeah.
And everything she knew about what she wanted in life, she learned from watching Joan Crawford on a movie screen, right?
It's amazing.
But there were no role models.
Yeah.
They were going blind, and they didn't understand when they arrived at the suburbs that drinking was not going to be the answer,
Mhm.
because when they all arrived, these cocktail parties, at one point, Cynthia says, all we do in Brighton is look for people to drink with and smoke. Right. And it was true. We did. Problem was, our parents were in their 40s, and we were like 15 years old and we're
Yeah.
doing it. That was the problem. So it was a very confusing time on a number of levels.
It's amazing to compare, like, their experience to my own experience. So, just thinking
Yes.
about, like, all of the people I don't currently drink. I had, like, a period of time where I did drink, but when I was in high school, all of my friends not all of my friends, but not really, like, my theater friends, but I hung out with, like, a bunch of different people, and just
Right.
the amount of people that would drink, and I would go out, and then people would get drunk, and I would call my mom, and I'd be like, "Can you come pick me up now?" Because I wasn't
Wow.
really interested, and I remember, like, going into college, my boyfriend at the time was 2 years older than me, so he was already 21, or was turning 21, when I was going into college,
Mhm.
and my mom had just had my youngest sister. So my mom has 2 babies at home and me going off to college. And I remember it was gonna be Danny's 21st birthday, and he was like, "Well, I'd really love if you would just get a fake ID so you can come to the bar with us. You don't have to drink or anything, but just so you can come with
And
us."
yeah,
And I remember having, like, an existential crisis. My mom was we're sitting in the living room having this conversation with my family. I'm having, like, an existential crisis. My palms are sweating, and my mom was like, "It's not that big of a deal. Like, we
because you
did it
had to
all the
lie?
time."
Is
Yeah.
that why were you so scared? You thought something bad was gonna happen.
No, I mean, listen, I would say acting and lying are 2, they walk a fine line where it's very meta, but if I'm
So
going
is
to be
making
21 for the evening,
so is writing fiction, dear. Where do you
So
think I learned how to lie so well?
yeah, so
No,
it's all I wasn't really afraid of that. I think just drinking culture in general made me uncomfortable, and I
scared.
don't think I
Well, you
really
did.
had a I couldn't vocalize it. There was nothing I didn't have, like, the words for it, but looking back, I'm like, "Well, I don't drink now, and it still makes me uncomfortable." So, um,
If I could guess, having watched a couple of your shows, it would be the idea of losing control would be an anathema to you,
yeah, I don't like I'm a very good go with the flow.
but not
I
be go nuts, right?
I don't like I also don't like not feeling well. I don't like
I know that one.
I mean, this is well, we could take the tangent, but the last first of all, being a role model to my sisters is very important to me. Always has
Yeah,
been.
yeah.
And the last day that I ever drank was the first time that I drank, and I had an adult tantrum where I was like, I just need to get home to my mom. Like, if I can just get to my mom's couch, I know I'll be okay. And I'm gonna get choked up talking about it. And my sister, who was like 6 years old at the time,
God,
comes out. I mean, I was drunk, drunker than drunk.
yes.
And my 6-year-old sister, she maybe was a little bit older, like, maybe she was, like, 8, and she came out with, like, a little English muffin and was like,
God.
Do you think you're gonna throw up?" My sisters had never seen me drunk, so this is, like, funny to them, but horrifying to me the next day that I was like, "I don't ever want my sisters to see me like this. I don't
Isn't that
ever wanna be
wonderful?
out of control like that for them." And I wasn't nothing bad happened while I was at my mom's. She wanna lay on her couch and, like, wake up in my
You didn't
family
have to
home.
have the waste basket next to the couch
But
to throw up, dear.
no, yeah, because I used to be pretty good at not to be gross, but I used to be pretty good at, like, if I was 4 drinks in, I'd just go to the bathroom and start throwing up in the middle of the night, at the bar, and then I'd just keep going and have another drink, like, it was just
And you weren't a Coke person.
no.
Good for you.
Nope, no drugs.
I knew people like you existed. I never met one before.
No drugs.
No wonder I'm fascinated with your show.
I dated this guy once who, he was like, "You've never done drugs?" And I was like, "No," and at the time, I had never even smoked weed.
Yeah,
And he
yeah.
was like I was like, "No, I've never even had a cigarette." And he was like, "You've never, like" he's like, "You seem like you'd be really good on, like, ecstasy or coke or something like
Yeah,
that." And
right.
I was like, "No." And he's like, "Yeah, doing coke is like being punched in the face." And I was like, "Sounds like I would hate it. Why would I wanna do that? Like, why is that to the descriptor?" So, that's not convincing.
Hey,
I was
that's
like, "Yeah,
funny.
I'm good." So
Well, it's interesting. I mean, that's a really good sign. I commend your mother because you have a good sense of yourself, you know? For
thank you.
people who like to drink, we wanted to feel better.
Yeah,
A lot of us suffered from incredible depression. So
yeah.
did our parents. But the podcast's not depressing. I just want everybody to know
No,
that. This is supposed to
not at
be
all.
escape and interesting. But yeah, we wanted to feel better. And
Yeah,
for somebody like myself, alcohol, I felt like I was beautiful and smart,
yeah,
and I just skipped adolescence. Went to my first church dance in 7th grade and had a couple of beers with a friend,
yep,
and I never looked back, and I
yeah,
drank at every social function after that. But I wasn't a falling down drunk. That I
yeah,
wasn't interested in that,
yeah.
and, I was just interested in feeling better and being wonderful.
I mean, and it's so interesting. So I'll be interested to see how this is with the story because I think about alcohol a lot or like substance a lot, especially with coming of
Yeah.
age stories. Because even how you just said, like, I skipped the adolescence part, which in a very different way,
But
because it's so
how? Through acting? Was that the theater?
no, I don't feel like I skipped adolescence. You just said that.
Okay.
You just said that you
So you didn't
because of
have to, you went through it, so you grew
I went
up.
through it.
Well, I didn't grow up for years.
I went through I would say I had, like, certainly my own experience of loss of innocence, but I felt very, if anything, I feel like I had 'cause I was in theater, like, the sexual revolution far earlier
Mm,
than people, because I didn't even recognize my own queer identity until I was an adult because I was like, well, everyone does that. And then I was like, or maybe you just did theater your whole life. I don't know. Um,
Right. Right.
everyone kisses everybody. Of course they do, and when I,
No.
yeah, and when I
1971, I'll tell you they did not.
yeah, I
Right.
was gonna say when I, reached a certain point of adulthood, I was like, actually, maybe this was like, so where I think a lot of people were doing it more with drinking or rebelling with their parents in that way.
Absolutely. To
Um,
be right.
yeah,
Gay people, absolutely.
I wasn't I
Absolutely.
wasn't really I was having it sort of in a different way. And then I see it, with my sisters and their generation, it's not really drinking and it's not really social. It's actually the opposite. They've skipped their adolescence because of TikTok. It's like just
It's
I'm
like
like
crack.
they're not awarded, you were like I didn't feel pretty so I drank and
Yes.
and I'm assuming that Cynthia will maybe have like a similar trajectory there, but this like idea that I see with my sisters where I say it to my mom all the time. I'm like, none of these kids in my sister's age group
Right. Right.
had the awkward phase in middle school where
It's
like
gonna
you
get
don't
them. It's
yeah.
gonna come back to get them.
And you do see it because I'm like, it is a rite of passage, I think, to be awkward and gangly and an adolescent and not know what to do with it in order to discover yourself. I think that's a part of the coming of
And
age journey.
how to process the hurt and the
Yeah.
fear, and also to learn that courage is not being without fear, it's being scared and doing it anyway.
Yeah.
And that I just ran away from for years, you know?
Well, I love so do you see yourself in Cynthia? Like, is that the comp or is it
Yeah.
not really like that? Okay.
No, she's definitely has a lot, but she sort of embodies my whole group of friends,
Mm,
and our parents were generally friends, and, that was weird. Because all these families were moving and coming in and going out, but ours
mm,
never did. We were
yeah,
always there, which was also different. And I just, this was my chance to bring people into the suburbs and see a lot of the nice people who lived there.
yeah,
I have people who hate anybody. Just the idea they were from Darien just makes them feel ill. And
yeah,
I'm like, you're wrong.
yeah.
We thought it was weird. We had the first, you haven't gotten to this episode, but we had the first Black student
Oh, I love that.
in our class. And boy, was that a big day. And then we got another one. And so we had two.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
this sounds so dumb, right? But in a town where no Jews existed, except they were there,
Mhm.
but they didn't exist because they weren't calling attention to themselves.
Yeah,
We're like, what is wrong with this world from day one?
yeah,
Well, why can't people of color live here?
yeah,
No. Why can't, what do you mean mom can't get insurance or she can't get her own credit card?
yeah, yeah,
What do you mean? I mean, just all these weird things that wives couldn't sue for divorce, for
yeah,
infidelity, but the husbands could,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So
Something they're
there's a
trying
lot of stuff.
to revert right back to right now. So,
Right. But you've got to remember too that, and I say this with great compassion and understanding, that our president, for example, leading this movement was the unsuccessful son.
yeah.
So that rage, it's more about Fred Trump, who, the guy who died, his older brother, who walked on water to his father. I mean, Donald had to be sent to military school because he was a discipline problem. Well, of course he was.
Yeah,
But I'm just saying that a lot of people with discipline problems are out there in this movement very angry
yeah,
because they feel cheated. And I just want to scream at them. That's not it.
yeah,
The world didn't cheat you. You cheated yourselves.
yeah.
Hello. Education's not your enemy.
Well,
It's good.
it is when you want to keep people docile and unawares, that's why it's their enemy.
Well, I it is, but also some people just had learning disabilities and couldn't
Yeah,
read well,
it's also
and
very
I see those guys as part of MAGA. I get it, because their fathers could have been practically, mentally retarded, 'cause
yeah,
that's what we called them back then, and they'd still have a great job with an insurance company
Yeah.
just because they were a white guy.
Yeah.
Didn't matter if they could do anything.
Yeah.
And then that all changed because women entered the workforce and Black people entered the workforce.
Yeah.
And Jewish people started to acknowledge that they were Jewish. And they were like, what's all this competition?
Yeah.
They didn't like it. And they
Yeah.
still don't like it. So when we say we're going back to the 50s, we're going back to when the game was rigged.
Yeah.
You know, we're going back before really to be American meant the art of self-improvement.
Yeah.
That's what being American meant, and it still does.
Yeah.
Making yourself the best person you can be
I agree.
and tearing people apart is not the way to do it.
Yeah.
And if you're not good at math or electronics or whatever, but you're okay at being a mechanic, then be a mechanic and be proud of it, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
And get some more because we need good
I
mechanics.
know. Well, we're losing this art of craft, and I think a lot of that is gonna start coming back. I've seen that
Yeah.
through
Well,
the
you see it with
astrology.
boutique
Yeah.
Etsy. You see it
Yeah,
with
yeah, yeah.
Etsy. Yeah, and that's coming back, and that was something that my generation had just all disappeared because we all worked at big companies and stuff when we
Yeah.
got out of college.
It's amazing how everything cycles.
It does, and the things that are true will always remain true.
Yeah.
That's what we respond to in art is the universal truth in
Yeah.
things. We respond to the universal truth of I'm sorry, my dogs are barking
That's
outside.
okay.
Yes, things go full circle, and I have every faith in America. Most people don't. I've got a relative who's moving to Canada, really, and I understand why they're upset, but it's my country.
Yeah.
That's another thing about being in the class of '74. This world it was your world, you know? You could be whatever you want. Don't pick on people. Bullies stink,
Yeah.
right? Oh, and I get to beat up bullies all the time, Julia, in this
Yeah.
show. It's great. And that's when I get the most feedback from people. "Oh, I loved it." You know, when, um because you look back and the bully, it was this is not something we should admire
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah, the
but you can
trope
go
of that.
back and compare. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll keep talking about it. I wanna get into our superlatives.
Our
So
superlatives.
I for those listening or watching, when we started to talk about this episode, he said like, "Hey, why don't we just span the decades?" Which is a decade that actually, as I was kind of doing some research, I knew this musically definitely, but as I was doing some research, I was like, "Wow, I really like the 70s. Like, this is a
Yeah.
good decade for me."
Oh, that's when a lot of the music that you love today was
Yeah.
written. Yeah, everything was changing, and that's why the podcast sort of ground to a halt in '71 because, we had Janis Joplin
Yeah.
died, and then, Jimi Hendrix, and then, um the Doors lead singer Jim Morrison died. They all died of heroin overdoses, and they were all 27. So
Yeah.
they called it the 27 Club. That was a big deal
Yeah.
when I was a kid. But the music that was going on, all this black music was going on, and none of us knew how to dance to it. Marvin Gaye.
Yeah.
I don't know. Sorry, but the music that was starting, there were hardly any women in music then. There was the Carpenters, right? Karen Carpenter, and we all know what happened to her. She was very big. Judy Collins
Yeah.
was very big, but these were not, big rock and roll
Yeah.
icons. The only big icon that was female was, well, Janis Joplin because she died.
Yeah, I was gonna say Janis Joplin was up there. I feel like Carole King.
Oh, I feel the earth move. That's 1971 here.
Yeah, you've got I
Yeah.
mean, disco comes in later. I have a lot of disco on
Oh
my
my
list,
god,
but
yes. That's later. That's 75.
yeah,
76.
I
Yeah,
have
no,
a
this is
lot of disco on my list.
disco. I'm sorry, your list. We should just go through your list. It's gonna be more
No, we're
interesting
gonna
than
go through
mine.
both. We're gonna go through both. We'll go one to one. So here are our superlatives for the class of '79. So I put it at 79 so we could span the entirety of the
Right,
70s.
but I'm in '74 and I'm stuck in 1971. So Julia is being Julia is gonna do the entire decade while Laura is still stuck in 1971.
That's
But
okay.
fortunately, I did live through those years.
You
Yeah,
go with your heart.
I guess what I did want to say, though, Julia, is that everything collided in 71 musically.
Yeah.
Soul
Yep.
started, but then these guys like James Taylor. How do you dance to James
I
Taylor?
know.
What's that about? Cat Stevens, how do you dance to that? And then Cher, Sonny and Cher show was
Yeah.
on. And she's, the big song was Gypsy Tramps and Thieves. Well, how do you dance to that? No.
Yeah.
I missed rock and roll because that's what we had just come off of, that was how we danced. But, Brown Sugar, Rolling Stones.
No.
It's your show. I'm sorry, Julia, I'm handing it back to you. Okay? All right. Your questions made me think a lot about different things,
Yeah.
but I want to tell you that we were all mixed up. We didn't know what music we liked. We were
Yeah.
so messed up. Barbara Streisand was a huge star, but she was so Jewish. We didn't understand her.
Yeah.
She plays a big role in the class of 74
Oh, I
because the
love
kids
that.
the kids go to the drive-in and they see On a Clear Day Forever. And I have a truth teller in the series named Mimi, and Mimi just says how it is. And so that when you're going, well, oh, good, I'm glad somebody sees that Barbara Streisand was probably the most gifted person in the world,
Yeah.
that she would affect every medium that she tried.
Yeah.
But we didn't know that. We just
Yeah.
thought, we thought Jane Fonda was cool because she was good looking.
Yeah.
You know, we did. Okay, go ahead. Ask a
No,
question.
no,
Let's
I
go
love
on your
it.
list. So,
As soon as you said Barbara Streisand, I just The Way We Were is one of my favorite movies, one of my favorite songs.
well, and Robert
And
Redford, the two of them were
I was just thinking, why didn't I put that on my list? But I didn't.
because it wasn't a club hit. That whole thing was sitting in your room dreaming about who
Yeah.
you loved, you
Such a
know?
beautiful movie. I love that movie.
My God, those two.
Yeah.
I can't imagine how she felt when Robert Redford passed away.
I know. Despondent, probably.
No, it's it's that feeling of the body of her work is so transformative.
Yeah.
And, you don't know what you got till it's gone,
Yeah.
right? To quote a song, I can't remember. But Sonny and Cher, did you ever see episodes of Sonny and Cher?
Yeah. Here and there. Whenever it
Yeah,
would
okay.
like repeat on TV or, on a late night show or something
That
like that.
started in 1971.
Yeah.
But the big TV thing for me, for all of us, was Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In. There was a woman named Lily Tomlin who played Ernestine, the telephone operator.
Okay.
And she was unlike anything we had ever seen in our lives.
I love that
There
so much.
was and she released a record too, and the material she did as a comedian, there was no words to describe the
Yeah.
territory where she was going.
Yeah.
We didn't know she was gay. I mean, she wasn't nobody said anything. We didn't know how smart she was. We didn't know what was going on, but
Yeah.
this woman fascinated all of us.
Oh, I love that.
And Goldie Hawn, you knew she had something, and it would be years before we saw her in a movie. So we understood she was an actress. These were just snippets of people we saw. And the big news show in the fall of 71 was All in the Family.
Yep.
And that was a mind-blowing experience. And I hated watching it with my parents, because I thought, God, my dad's like Archie Bunker. It was
Yeah.
getting to realize that we're about to collide with our parents in a major way, you know?
Is that what you picked for TV series? What did you pick for
Oh,
TV?
yeah, and then also, Columbo started in 71,
Yeah.
and, Upstairs, Downstairs, the first PBS soap opera started in 71.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't understand that, President Johnson had conceived of public television and public radio, but Nixon was the one who funded it all.
Yeah.
So at that time, that upstairs, downstairs, there are all these small PBS stations across the country joining. Now, you
Yeah.
got to know there's no cable TV at this point. Everything's
Right.
broadcasting. All the houses have TV antennas. So what you got on the antennas, what you got to watch. And again, there was just a lot going on. Yeah. So Columbo, uh, Macmillan and wife, Rock Hudson, Susan St. James. No one knew that Rock Hudson was gay, but everybody knew there was something
Yeah.
going on. And he was an icon to our parents, but our generation, the guys were a little suspicious of him,
Yeah.
but we didn't know why, you know?
Yeah.
So that was interesting. The Mary Tyler Moore Show
Yeah.
started. And I didn't like watching that with my parents either. Because my mother got so uncomfortable. She'd say, "Oh, well, maybe I should get a job," but she felt guilty,
Yeah.
and she goes, "Laura, when you get out of college, you're going to get a good job, right?" I said, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." That was something we had never seen before. Yeah. So those were my list. Did I really write them down? But upstairs, downstairs, that was the first soap opera, nighttime soap opera, and it was on PBS. And that put PBS on the map.
I love that.
And that ran for years, and it still works today. Where's
Yeah.
Well? You can watch it.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've never seen it, but I've heard of it.
You can see it on YouTube, and
Okay.
just 3 episodes, and then you realize that, my God, this one something's going on between the maids upstairs. So we're all at school going, "Did you see what happened between Rose and that? What's going on?"
Yeah.
Because we just didn't get it. Anyway, that was TV for me as I remember it.
Because I didn't grow up in this, I just have, like, the stuff that I love from this decade, and there was a
Oh,
lot
the
because like,
reruns.
'cause I used to watch a lot of reruns, and my mom worked at night. My mom worked during the day, and she had a job at night, so,
Oh, God bless her.
I oftentimes we lived with my grandmother. We had an apartment in my grandmother's house, so I'd
Your
be
mother
in
was very young when you were born.
Yeah, my mom was in her 20s. So, I would be in the house with my grandmother, but in my apartment alone. So there was always an adult. I could open a door and go get my grandma. But by the time it was like nighttime, my grandmother would come downstairs. We used to have dinner together. I would do my homework with her. I would brush my teeth and get ready for bed. And then I would watch Nick at Night. And a lot of that was The Love Boat and Three's Company and
Right. Well, that's
um,
later in the '70s, but that's all '70s.
all of those shows, but the one that I picked is The Muppet Show. So,
Oh, right.
I worked in Disney through college. I worked at Disney, and The Muppets always have felt special to me. I don't know what that is or, like, why I resonated with it, but,
Well, you grew up on Sesame Street, right?
well, yeah,
When
yes,
did Sesame Street start? Because that
in
was
the
public
'70s.
television.
I think maybe
Later.
even in the
It
six
wasn't in '71 yet,
well,
but
I think it was actually maybe in the '60s because I think The Muppet Show diverted from Sesame Street to create an adult variety show.
yes,
'Cause it was the first
later,
time it was
later. Yeah.
the first time it was targeted towards adults was The
Yeah,
Muppets.
right. I remember
So
Judy Collins appeared.
yes. So, this amazing sort of, like, subversion of the genre, like, of what Muppets or puppets or whatever it's supposed to be, that it's targeted towards adults, and the fact that the Muppet Show in particular, right? I'm not gonna say it was like this revolutionary thing. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. I don't know. But like there the Muppet Show wasn't about the variety show that was being put up front. It was about the messy behind the stage stuff that was happening.
And the
Which
personalities and their problems, yes,
yes,
and
and how they were
everybody was
connected.
different.
Yes. I just
Yeah,
saw a TikTok that said, you don't even know how messy Kermit and Miss Piggy's relationship is because they have an on-screen relationship and an off-screen relationship, and they're not the same people. There's Kermit the Frog and then Kermit the
yeah,
actor. And it
yeah,
was just a very funny video. And obviously, it's all supposed to be satirical and it's all supposed to be very
yeah.
meta, and constantly breaking the fourth wall. But just very funny. I don't think the Muppets have ever put anything out that I haven't found funny or entertaining. And then later, right, it's also a great place in this like subversion of genre where they're doing a lot of cultural commentary, but because it's cute. It's easy to digest. And then later, at the very end of the 70s, in 1979, we get the Connection, which is one of my favorite songs. Um, was actually the song that when my class in elementary school was graduating, that was our graduation song. And
Do you
but
know what
has
the class of '74 graduation song was?
Yeah, tell me.
Rocket Man.
I love that.
It was
Okay, I've got Elton John on my list.
Rocket Man because everybody was stoned.
Yeah. What was your prom song, or were they the same thing?
They were basically the same thing, yeah.
Okay. So we didn't I don't know if we had a graduation song. If we did, I don't remember, but my prom song, which I graduated in 2010,
Oh my god.
my prom song well, I graduated high school in 2010, but this is a high school show.
I'd been a full-time novelist for a long time already. Yeah, okay.
Ours was Time After Time, and I remember thinking, "I love this song, I wish this wasn't our prom song. Like, why can't we have something from our decade to sum up our high school career?" But then I, like, look back at songs that were coming out in 2010, and I'm like, "What?" I mean, timepiece-wise, sure, but nothing that holds up like Time After Time, you know? So, in the end, I'm glad that we did it, but no one danced to it. No one at my prom danced to it.
Yeah. Well, it was a slow dance, right?
Yeah, nobody was out on the dance floor. So, yeah, so I picked the Muppets because I think it just holds up, and now they're releasing, the Muppet Show is coming back. I'm really curious how that's gonna I'm curious how it'll unfold.
Gonna do just fine.
No.
Again, that kernel of truth in the center,
Yes.
that universality,
Yep.
things don't wear out. There's no gimmick there,
Yeah.
If anything, it becomes a timepiece.
Yeah.
And I think culturally, when you look at these shows, look back, it tells you why your parents are the way they are
Yeah. Yep.
and your grandparents.
Yep.
And then we have to remember that their grandparents or great-grandparents didn't have TV
Yeah.
at all,
Yep.
and then you're talking about movies, and then you begin to see how media has shaped our lives, so that we look at something and then we model ourselves after something that somebody
Yeah.
made up.
Yep.
So that's a little disconcerting sometimes.
Yeah. Well, before that, it was literature. I mean, we
Mm.
always had it, we just had it in different forms,
Yes, you're quite right. You're quite right.
because there's a lot of we romanticize a lot of Victorian literature now, as seen as, like, the release of Wuthering Heights is coming out this week. So, we have been romanticizing these, for a long time, but at the time, that was the revolutionary thing that they were modeling themselves after, they fancied themselves after. So, I think
They
it
were
was
the
always
first soap
there. Yeah.
operas.
Yeah. Always
Yeah.
there, just very different.
I read something about in, the 1800s about this crowd in New York City at the pier waiting for a ship coming in from England.
Yeah.
It had the conclusion of The Old Bookshop, is it The Old Bookshop? Yeah, the Curiosity Book whatever it is, with
Yeah.
Little Nell Dickens. It was the final 3 chapters, and there were 3,000 peoples on the dock waiting for the ship to come in.
Wow.
So
Oh, I
that
just
was
got
your
chills.
soap opera, right?
Yeah.
Published in installments.
Yeah.
And later, when you weren't even thought of practically no, you weren't even thought of,
I wasn't thought of.
we had these huge nighttime soap operas,
Yeah.
Dallas, Knots
Right.
Landing, Dynasty, and the creators of Dynasty, I had done something with them, and they were like PhD students in Victorian literature.
Yeah.
That's all they did. They just made up a story and told it
Yeah.
like a Victorian novel,
Yeah.
and that was cool.
I
Right.
mean, you could go back you go all the way back, think to, like, Mesopotamia, they had Gilgamesh and the epics, epics and Greek
The
mythology and
font
Roman
for
mythology.
storytelling,
Yeah. So it's always been there, right? It's
the
why we
theater. Yeah,
Yeah, theater, we romanticize. These were all plays, right? And you
yeah,
can't
yeah.
I when I studied theater, you become very familiar with anything that's considered classic because all literature talks to literature and all
Right.
plays talk to plays. So,
Well
um,
said, well said.
so it's, I remember taking a class on the Bible because I was like, "I need to understand this more."
That's the
I'd gone
first
to
piece of literature, right.
I've gone to Bible school, but, I did it with, one toothpick in my eye, half paying attention, "What can I do to pass this class?" Because I wasn't interested. I was not interested at all. I
Right.
mean, I grew up in a very Italian family, but I was not
Wow.
interested at all
Well, you brought
in
up Catholic. Good for you.
and I wasn't interested in it, though. I slept through church. I mean, my mom was not super religious. My dad goes to church every Sunday. My dad is the most pious person, and I truly mean, piety, what they preach, my dad practices.
You must have gone to parochial school then.
Yeah, my dad's just an incredible storyteller is where I get that from, and just an incredible human. He's just so everything that he believes church preaches, my dad really endeavors to go and live his life that way. But when I was younger, this was not my dad, I don't even think at that point had that relationship to religion. I think that came with time and
And
consideration and
pain.
intention.
And
Yeah.
pain. And seeking, yeah, understanding why are these things happening, right?
So, I know I used to just go to church, that was just a thing. I sat through church to get to the diner afterwards because that's what my dad would take me to do after. We would go to the diner, and across the street from the diner was the fun zone, and my dad would take me to the fun zone, and we would have a great Sunday. That was, every week that we would do that. So, I was like, "If I can just sleep through church, I'm gonna get to the fun zone, which is where I wanna go." And I remember taking this class in college being like, "I have to really understand the Bible because I can't you can't understand Shakespeare if you don't understand religion. You can, but you can't." So, these things fundamentally I think have always been there. It's just the way that they've now been translated. It's also why the Odyssey this year coming out, it's going to be one of the biggest movies, can be up for opera, up for
You're going to make people's heads explode, Julia.
you
You're
know,
too well educated. I'm telling you, in this world, right? Okay.
so it'll win awards. I mean,
Yes. Yes.
so it's always been there.
I
I
have to just jump in and say one little thing.
Yeah,
In the class of 74, in Brighton, there are two religions. You're Protestant or you're
Catholic.
Catholic, right? Which means, you're a public school girl or you're a parochial school kid, right? And that's an insult saying you're a public school girl anyway. But that was very much the era too. That
Yeah,
was a big deal.
yeah,
The difference between being Episcopalian and being Catholic.
yep.
But those were just the times.
Yeah.
So
Alright, what do you have for most likely to start a cultural revolution?
Gloria Steinem,
Okay.
she was what a badass. In the fall of 71, she was just getting started. The first issue of Ms. Magazine was going to come out in October.
I just got chills.
Yeah, that's going to be great episodes in the class of 74 because when we all saw that first one, well, first we hit it like it was pornography because it was also foreign.
Yeah,
But Gloria Steinem was so beautiful.
yeah,
Everybody would listen to her.
yep.
Right? Nobody would listen to anybody else in the women's movement. They weren't good looking. What a world. Yeah. So Gloria Steinem there were also Lily Tomlin in a way. We knew, and Jane Fonda,
Yeah,
we knew there was something coming. And, the political world was a vast desert. There was one Republican woman senator from Kansas, of all
yeah,
places, Nancy Kassebaum, who would have a heart attack at what's going on today. She believed in the Environmental Protection Agency as much as
yeah,
President Nixon did.
yeah.
What a world. I'm sorry. So what about you?
No, I love that.
What about your,
I had Roe v. Wade.
yeah, whoa, because 71, we had all the Planned Parenthood clinics had just
Yeah.
opened
I
and
mean,
they were,
yeah. I think when I think about the '70s, I really do think about that feminist movement and, this new
and
wave
birth
of
control
feminism.
was a huge part of it. A woman's right to choose because it was all tied to the well-being of children.
Yeah,
And we were just beginning to realize that there was a shuddering amount of child abuse going on behind closed doors,
yeah.
of molestation, violence, and we have it in the class of 74. But, we take care of all those people, right?
Yeah.
but it was horrifying. I mean, the women's movement brought and the civil rights movement, I mean, we just couldn't get it. We would get so angry that, well, what is wrong with being Hispanic, right?
Yeah.
What do you mean the white people are higher than the darker color people in Cuba? That's an upcoming episode.
Oh, I love that.
All these kinds of things that made no sense to us. And yet, as time went on, we all understood it was rooted in economics, of
Yeah.
rigging the game, as it were. So, but that Roe versus Wade was absolutely huge because before that, you really had to go. Well, when I was in junior high, we had a friend who went to England to have an abortion because she didn't think she should have a baby at 14.
Yeah.
And she hadn't had sex because she wanted to. Somebody had raped her.
Ugh.
I know, 14. I haven't gotten into that yet, but we are getting there about the
Yeah.
girls who disappear, you know. But I don't wanna get depressed because that's what all of this is about,
Yeah.
is that we know so much more. And each one of us, the way we live our lives matters.
Yeah.
Big time. The way we treat other people matters big
Yeah.
time. And I don't want to say my grandmother was right. Good manners will get you everywhere, but she was right in a way. We have to have something we all have in common. How about just being nice
Yeah.
to people, being polite, and then you can be whatever you want. Other than that,
Yeah.
we don't care. We won't judge you. Boy, Gloria Steinem and marching in the street for ERA. The ERA bill was a big deal.
Yeah.
We didn't get it, of course.
Well, you're young though, right? I mean,
But TV was full of it. The women marching down Fifth Avenue, because then there were, like, movie stars who started,
yeah.
where people would say something or Cher would be on Sonny and Cher and go like this and say some feminist thing,
Yeah.
and we'd all go, "Cool," or
Yeah.
Gloria on All in the Family.
Yeah.
And just because I'm a woman, daddy, and we're like, yeah, and
Yeah.
poor Edith, when Edith finally blew up and said, no, Archie, you know,
Yeah.
all of that, it made sense to us. Didn't to our parents, but it made sense to us. And we would live accordingly.
Yeah.
Most of us are socially liberal. We got a lot of fiscal conservatives out of our class, but I can't think of one that would embrace any kind of discrimination to discriminate, hurt these people so you can get more.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just
Well, it's all what's coming into question right now, and I think that's why, Roe v. Wade was top of my mind when I was thinking about, like, cultural revolution because we're fighting for this today. We're still fighting for it right now. And you think that something is just granted because it's been there since the '70s, and yet here we are, 30 some odd years later, like, well, longer than that, actually. I don't know why that was just 30 years in my head because it wasn't.
yeah.
But just about a little bit more. We're here fighting for the same thing that, Jane Roe was fighting for. And I just think that the influence of these people or this like new wave of feminism,
Mm,
even in Cher or, Stevie Nicks or all of these, characters that like, again, not characters, people,
Stevie Nicks, right.
but, hold this like cultural relevancy even today
Yeah.
in this wave of feminism. So it's like we're still leaning on that. We really haven't had a new wave of feminism really come in. We've had a new wave, I think, of inspiration through a lot of cultural touchstones, the overturning of Roe v. Wade being one of them. But I don't think that there's, the way that feminism is shifting now is really interesting, and I'm not an expert on it, I'm just fascinated by it, but
Yeah. But you live in Paris, so what do you know?
yeah, well, where everyone's free and gay, everyone's you you've never met a group of people who are more,
All embracing,
and
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 they always
that's
were.
that's not right. You can't take away that from us. You work for us. You're our government. We don't like
Well,
that. They're the first people to be out in the streets. I mean, it's a lot of jokes, but there's a reason why, even astrologically, the French Revolution and the American Revolution happened together. And the French Revolution is, you know, when something is being threatened in Paris or when they want to protest, the organization happens very quickly. I mean, sometimes it'll be like, "Hey, you can't get on the subway today because there's gonna be a protest," and they shut down so that it can be organized in a specific way. When we say like, "Oh, we're having a national strike, people shouldn't go to work or people shouldn't go to school or whatever." I don't know what the percentage of people that do or don't do that is because I live on Long
Nobody
Island.
goes to an office anymore.
Yeah, but I will
But
say
yeah,
in Paris, nobody if they're like, "We're
you don't.
striking," nobody goes. That's it. So, it is very different and it's inspiring in some ways to see that like, oh, that kind of organization can happen. Obviously, Paris is a much smaller,
No, but France in
thing.
general, I mean, there
Yeah.
are real reasons why, like, Tina Turner lived there,
Yeah, lots of
right?
I mean, so many American artists, who found themselves over there because of World War II and then developed their craft and their Ernest Hemingway being one of them, one of the major ones, writes a whole book about Paris. So mentions Paris often. And that's not the only one, but these like classic American, like especially literature figures.
Oh, well, they were just coming, but, in
Yeah,
our
all
day,
from France.
Gertrude Stein didn't really exist.
Yeah.
You know, when the women's movement started, suddenly books started appearing,
Yeah.
that would never have seen the light of day for decades. Yeah, but you're absolutely right, and it is a different way. That's why my other half, Chris, well, she just loves France. I
Yeah, I
mean,
love
she
that.
just of course, she's Catholic too.
Yeah. Lots
Jackie
of churches.
Onassis, I worked with Jackie Onassis at Doubleday a
Yeah.
million years ago, and of course, she was very attached to France,
Yeah.
being a Bouvier. But that nationalism and the Catholicism, it's interesting, those
Yeah.
ties. It's
I love it.
wonderful.
Alright, what's your best soundtrack?
Well, my best soundtrack,
I have many, so don't worry if you can't just pick one.
Love Her Madly.
Okay.
Love her madly. Well, no, that wasn't it. What did I want? Slow Dance Superstar. Got that. Okay. I think really my grade, we were so heavily into rock
Mhm.
still because the Allman Brothers were all alive
Yeah.
and they came and they played in the next town over,
Oh, I love that.
Portchester. And I went. A lot of us went.
Yeah.
And it was all that was our scene where all these guys and Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
Well, 71 was when the Immigrant Song came out. You know that song? Doom, doo, 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 doo,
Uh-huh.
doom, doo, doo, doo. Yeah. Bum, bum, and well, we could dance to that.
Yeah.
So probably the Immigrant Song is probably I always thought if I had a radio show, that beginning, that would be the opening
Yeah.
music to tell people the show is coming on the air. Yeah, I'm gonna say that. I'll stick with the Immigrant Song
Okay.
because it was different sound,
Okay. I
but
love
you
it.
could dance, you could
Yeah.
dance. There
So
wasn't a lot of rock and roll.
yeah.
It was coming.
Yeah. It was very progressive, perhaps. Like, progressive rock? Is that what you would call it now? I
Right,
mean
well, there was a lot of folk and blues
yeah.
influence, so it was slowed way down.
Yeah.
Um, Cat Stevens, I mean, he was huge,
Yeah.
but you don't dance to Cat Stevens, right?
Yeah.
Or James Taylor?
Yeah. Yeah, you sit at a James Taylor concert. Now people know now 'cause I lived in the Berkshires for a few years, and when I lived there, like, James Taylor is the thing. So but no one you're not standing at that show. People bring, like, their chairs to sit and just listen to him and have a beer or whatever, but so it's a concert you sit at. I mean, it's not a concert you dance at, definitely not. No shade to James Taylor. If the
No,
for the
no.
for the
Oh, no,
point
they
zero
were
one
all
percent chance he's listening to this show.
right, but Carly Simon wasn't there yet. Now when she
Yeah.
came along, suddenly we're all dancing again, but that's later.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I'm sticking with the Immigrant Song.
Yeah, that's
But
a
there were
great
no
song.
women in that band. There were no women in any band except for Jefferson Starship.
Yeah.
That was kinda cool. What did you
I
say?
I love Starship.
Yeah, I do too.
Love
We got this city,
one of my
but
favorite songs,
that's
but it's the '80s, that's the '80s. But I've seen them when I worked at Disney. Disney used to have an event called Eat to the Beat at Epcot. When I say everyone like, I think Hanson was playing, so and Hanson at that time had just launched their beer, like, their song but they released a beer called Pops,
Yes.
So Hanson's there doing like this whole big thing, and everyone's at Hanson, and it's a small stage. It's not anything big or crazy. And then everyone leaves and is at the pavilion where Hanson is doing their beer tasting. And I was like, I'm staying because Starship is coming on. And if I don't see We Build the City live, I feel like that's a personal failure on my part. And I was like one of like 5 people in the audience, and I was having a freaking blast. The best night of my life. It was so amazing. I mean,
That
I
music. Yeah.
love that song. That
Me
song
too.
is
Me too.
fundamental to my childhood.
That was college actually for us. Yep.
Yeah, I love that. So I did as like the best overall soundtrack. I have The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and The Spiders from
God,
Mars.
I had him the most sexually confusing thing.
Did you?
Yes.
That's what you have
David
under.
Bowie, it was like, again, everything was in collision. It's like, "What is this?"
Yeah.
You know? "What's going on here?" Because he was a nice looking man, but look at him,
Yeah.
right? So, we were just too white bread at that point.
Yeah.
Come to, but that ambiguous sexuality
Yeah, the androgyny of it
was
all.
just through it was we were clueless,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, and I love, I think this is sort of the beginning of rock opera and
It's coming.
these narrative stories that are coming through it. And you have this, weird,
Jesus Christ Superstar.
weird, sort of story about a bisexual androgynous alien. And
Yeah,
I really just think that this album overall, I just feel like in the 70s, there was a lot of care as I was looking through, like, and I have some other albums and I'll name them, but there was just a lot more care of like the way that an album was put together, like from
yeah,
song 1 to song, we're just in a different time because you're not listening to track 1, side 1 versus side 2. And, for side 1 of The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust is 5 Years Soul Love, Moonage Dream, Daydream, Starman, and then It Ain't Easy. Like, I mean, and I think, standing the test of time is Moon Age Daydream, obviously. And then side 2, completely different story of like the rise and then literally the fall, which is Lady Stardust, Star, Hang on Yourself, Ziggy Stardust, Suffragette City, which is one of my favorites on the whole
yeah, that
album. Yeah. And then Rock and Roll Suicide. I mean, just a really great album from start to finish. There's no skips. It's different, it's interesting, it's got a story, it's got a narrative. I love it. But I also had as other contenders of like these are albums that I really love. Let's Get It On by Marvin Gaye, which you talked about before, where you're like, we didn't even know how to
yeah,
dance to this.
right.
I
That was
have
so
good
weird.
Yeah. Goodbye Yellow Brick Road from Elton John.
Yeah,
Born to Run, Bruce Springsteen. I had a really hard time deciding if I wanted to pick
it's
David
yeah,
Bowie here or Bruce Springsteen. My dad is a
79.
huge Bruce Springsteen
Spring
fan.
of course he is.
I grew up
He's from New Jersey, right? No.
in New York, yeah, Long Island, but my dad I mean, when I think of my dad, like the soundtracks that we would listen to, and both of my parents are really into music, but they're very into it in different ways. They have really good taste in different directions. I mean, there's so many things that I learned from my father about the world from his understanding because of Bruce Springsteen and the way that he would say this song came together because of these different components, or this is the backstory behind this thing. And all these amazing stories that I grew up and my father would tell me. And Born to Run, that album from start to finish is probably like one of the albums I've listened to the most in my life, just because my parents were divorced. They divorced very early. I was the only one with divorced parents for a long
Oh,
time.
that's
And
hard in a
yeah,
Catholic yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that's hard.
And so I was in the car a lot because either I was getting dropped off at a parent's house or picked up or, going back and
A
forth.
latchkey kid. Yeah, we
Yeah.
know about you guys.
And, I would just listen to this, and both of my parents worked, and my parents met in aviation, and my dad for many years.
They met in a plane crash? Wait, what do
No,
you mean
they
aviation?
both worked in aviation. So
Okay.
They both worked at an airport hangar near where I grew up in Farmingdale in the Republic Airport, and then my dad went on to develop a whole program at MacArthur Airport, which is
Love
y
MacArthur
yeah,
Airport.
right here, not far from where we grew up. My dad sort of developed, like, the program where celebrities can come in that way, and so a lot of
To
celebrities.
slip into New York, you mean?
Yeah.
Where did
So
well, MGM airline oh, sorry.
yeah, no, go. What airlines go through there?
No, we had an airline called MGM, and you could get a manicure, get
Yeah,
your hair done on it. Was this
flying
that
was
was
so
a
different.
'70s thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was different.
It was a very luxury thing, now it's so commonplace, you know? So,
But
um
we're not,
yeah.
so we gotta get back to picking and choosing,
Yeah,
making things better.
yeah. I have also Arrival from ABBA.
That was so far
Do
down
you
the
like
road.
do you like ABBA?
Course I do, because you can dance to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've gotta tell you, I am so stuck in '71, but
It's okay.
yeah,
Well, that's
that
where your
was great.
story is.
But if I did pick an album for the decade, it would be Fleetwood Mac,
Yeah.
Tusk. That was when Stevie Wonder,
Yeah.
his 3 record out, his, 2 Isn't She Lovely?
Yep.
Remember, Songs in the Key of Life.
Yes.
That was still a few years off. Carole King was huge.
Yeah, Carole King.
Oh, we could dance to that song.
I know. At the very late '70s, classic to Long Island, we have The Stranger by Billy Joel, to which we are still singing all of these songs, right? So that's another one that comes out in the late is on the sort of the second half after '75. I don't know when it came out, probably 77, 78, but, great. I mean, just again, another one, start to finish, where I'm like, "Oh, well, I don't know if it's because 'cause I'm from Long Island or whatever, but we know all these songs and we're still singing them."
Yeah. No, he was something new. Again,
Yeah.
all these guys were notable, but they were men too.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to keep harping on this, but, for a long time, you were allowed to have one woman something, you can have
Yeah.
one black woman, you can have one white woman, you can have one white novelist, one black novelist.
Yeah.
There weren't room for 2. It was very singular.
Yeah.
Hmm. Okay.
Most likely to get you on the dance floor.
I feel the earth move.
Oh, good one.
Yeah, no, that was the one. Yeah, that always got me out there. That was '71,
Okay. I
and we
love
could
that you're
dance
in
to that.
71. I wish I would have known, I would have done just 71.
Well, you'll have to invite me back, because God knows it'll be 10 years and we'll be on week 3 of school.
Yeah. That's
So,
good, you won't run out of story.
no, I won't. I won't. Yeah, no, that was a good yeah, and also the immigrant song we could dance to.
Yeah. Yeah, it had a good beat, definitely.
Golly.
Well, I have disco. I have Don't Leave Me This Way by Thelma Houston.
Where this is so far ahead of my guys at Brighton High.
Yeah, '76 it came out. Well, '75 the album came out, '76 Don't Leave Me This Way came out as a single.
Right.
But this is to this day, if this comes on in a car, in the supermarket, at a gas station, I love this song. This song
Cranking it up.
gets under my skin and just makes me feel so alive and grateful to be alive and grateful to be a woman. It's sexy. It's like I actually sort of I love growing up when I did, and I feel very grateful for a lot of the things that I've been afforded because of the era that I've grown up, but I sort of resent not being able to go to like Studio 54 in its prime. I just love
God.
disco. I think I really missed out.
No, but you know what? You wouldn't have liked a lot of what you saw there.
Yeah.
There were a lot of ill people.
Yeah.
There was so much cocaine
Yeah.
and drinking. I mean, it got very sloppy,
Yeah.
and it led into AIDS,
Yeah.
not far behind. So there's a whole arc of, Laura, shut up. I don't go
No,
into this thing, but
I love that. You don't have to
Disco
shut up.
Inferno. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I'm back in '71,
that's
so
okay.
your
Most
poor
likely
audience, they're like, "What a dud guest."
no! Hey, we span the '70s and we talk about whatever, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
most likely to change Hollywood forever.
Yeah, that was a tough one.
Okay.
If you're looking at 71, I mean, who was even there? I think probably Robert Redford, because Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid came out in 71,
Yeah.
and everyone's like, "Who is this guy?" Right? Everybody thought Ally McGraw was gonna be something, because Love
Yeah, yeah,
Story
yeah.
came out, but that didn't work out. Again, Barbara Streisand, no one knew the effect she was gonna have in the end.
Yeah.
She was On a Clear Day, Live Forever. Why? Who are you talking about to change
I
Hollywood?
picked a movie. I'm in the later 70s, so we
Yes,
can
you
see
are.
we can see where we are in the decades. I picked Star Wars: A New Hope because it's
New Hope.
this is the first
Interesting.
Star Wars installment, May 25th,
Yeah,
1977.
yeah. Syracuse University Drive-In, Syracuse.
Yes, here we are today. We are in February 2026 and Star Wars is still relevant. It is still in its prime. It is still revered. It is still
But we lost Carrie Fisher.
I know. I
I
know.
know. And we should have, like, all right, now that's another show. We'll talk about the biggest losses where you just wanna, knock people's heads together to get them
Yeah.
off drugs and alcohol and all that stuff, you know?
Her books are phenomenal.
She's brilliant. She's brilliant.
I'm like, I wanna, like, dig out all of my books are up in storage because I haven't shipped them yet because I have a lot of books.
Yeah, I
So
bet.
So, I'm like, now I wanna, like, go sift out, like I'm like, my book, I'd love to, like, reread that. I'll read it on my Kindle, I don't need to make myself crazy, but, yeah, her books are great, and, you see her even, talking about the impact, like so not this year, but just ahead of Trump taking office in his 2nd term,
Mhm.
I went to DC and I marched, and just the amount of Carrie Fisher that you see on as Leia on signs, that people make in this revolution that we're having on the streets now, for feminism, but also just for, like, human rights in general. It's
May I
just
just stop you for a
yeah.
minute? That's why I think we need to really celebrate people like Jamie Lee Curtis,
Yes.
who
Oh, I love her.
survived, and
Yeah.
they're the same group. They're friends,
Yeah.
actually. We have a cultural icon, and then they die.
I know.
"Yay, Jamie!"
Well, do you watch The
Halloween.
Bear?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
It's on in my house, but I have not watched it yet, but I will
So she
binge.
She plays without spoiling too much, she plays the main character's mother,
Right.
and she's an alcoholic in the show.
I bet she's really good.
It's actually, like, chill-inducing performance. She's so good in this role, and I think playing an addict is one of the hardest things that you can do and make it convincing, and there's very few people that I think do it. Like, I think of, Leonardo DiCaprio in Basketball Diaries. Is that
Mm.
Basketball Diaries? Is that the name of the movie? Hopefully that's the name of it, but anyway, he plays an addict in that movie. He's young. This is, like, pre-Titanic. Literally, like, when I was watching it, like, had to keep pausing it. I was in high school probably at the time when I was watching it and had to keep pausing it and being like, "I can't stomach this." Like, I have to and I didn't even drink at the time. I wasn't even, like, 21. I was like,
Yeah,
it's taking a
yeah,
lot to get through it." And
yeah.
Zendaya in Euphoria. I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen Euphoria, but it's just a phenomenal performance of, like, drug addiction and the nuance of what this type of addiction is. Just brilliant, but she does a phenomenal job, Jamie Lee
Yeah.
Curtis, as his alcoholic mother, and it's sometimes it is quite comical and, like, the moments of, like, chaos that come with, like, crazy
Yeah,
family
yeah,
dynamics,
right, right.
um, but there is just a lot of something very sad and, empty about the way that she shows up to the role and her own resentments and how that bleeds through and her own guilt and how that bleeds through. It's just a really great performance, and I had never thought about it from the lens of, like, well, she's lived through this era where you're doing it all the time, and you're constantly confronting it, so that's a really great perspective.
I have a favorite thing I wanna do that you
Okay.
asked me, and I wanna talk about this because 'cause I'm really curious about your feedback on this.
Okay, sure.
The last thing you asked about something that made straight people question
Yeah.
everything.
Question everything. Yep.
And 1971, a movie came out called The Summer of 42. Summer 42 was about this absolutely beautiful woman who lived up on the vineyard, at the beach, and about these young boys who are in love with her, these teenage boys. And it's a coming of age movie
Mm,
about a young man. But in 1971, this movie came out. And if you can understand, the entire movie is about this teenage boy falling deeper and deeper in love with the most beautiful woman who ever lived
yeah.
in real life, whose husband was at the war. So she was lonely and she was really nice. And this movie, everybody who watches the movie, you fall in love with Jennifer O'Neill.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, that movie started flipping all of us out. Like, well, yeah, I'd rather be with her than him.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, very straight women. They completely identified this woman was beautiful. She was kind. She was gentle. She was understanding and loving and affectionate and funny. But the film was from the point of view of a teenage boy.
Yeah.
So nobody has a chance. And that was the kind of movie that just got people thinking, whoa, I think she's much more attractive than, right? So that's my one. And you're going to go watch it tonight, I hope.
Yep, I'll add it to my list.
You've never seen anything so beautiful as Jennifer O'Neill. Okay. I just wanted to say that.
Yeah. I had Divine from Pink Flamingos. Still an influence on drag today, kind of the first, the OG, still kind of early into the 70s, but I think closer to 73 or 74. You know, when people think drag queens, they think Divine, and that's still
It's very
today.
true. It's very true.
Pink
Oh,
Flamingos is
well,
an
in
influence for me.
71, we had Liberace.
Yes!
Right. He was the only we didn't know what he was, but he was the highest paid entertainer in the world,
Yeah,
and it was such a show,
yeah,
but we didn't there was no words to describe whatever it was he was doing.
yeah, I love that.
And then the author, Truman Capote, nobody knew what he was
Yeah,
doing, you know? Yeah, no, I just want to throw out Liberace.
I
He
love
was
that.
71, his TV show was huge, huge.
Well, thank you so much, Laura, for being here
Oh
and for
my gosh.
sharing so much with us. The class of 74 is already so precious to me. I can't wait till I keep going with
Oh,
the
you're so
story.
sweet. I do it, it's audio only, and for a reason, is that I love podcasts and I like listening to them. When I'm somewhere I don't wanna be, or I'm sad, or I'm doing something and I just put in my little earphone, right? So, I had somebody whose mother has dementia. Isn't that terrible? But she loves listening to podcasts because her mother
Yeah,
doesn't know she's listening.
yeah,
And she's
yeah,
listening to Cynthia at the drive-in running around and all the boys and the girls and what's going on. I want people to go there to feel better.
yeah,
So I'm not saying, you have to be sad to listen to it, but if you want to get out of your own head
yeah.
and forget what's going, that's why I write it the way I do.
Yeah, and you have a lot of, like, cultural, in the first episode, you do, like, an announcement, like, over the loudspeaker at school, and you were like, "Doom, doom, doom," and I was like,
Right. Ding, ding.
that wasn't for that didn't happen by the time I was in school, that was gone, but it just, like, took me right into Greece where they start
Still
the thing and they're
doing
like,
it.
"Ding, ding, ding," they're hitting the xylophone. I mean, just so amazing, the detail orientation that you put into this, the history that you put into it, and the thought behind the characters, their
Well,
story.
You know, the thing was that's why we started a Patreon page.
Yeah,
Everybody wanted to see my notes, my research notes.
yeah,
And so, and we're talking about the debut of a little 16-year-old tennis player named Chrissy Everett. People want to see it. So I give
yeah.
them the links and stuff there. Yeah. No, it is a time capsule, and it's fun.
I love it. I love it so much. Thank you so much for sharing
Well, thank you for having me
your
on because I'm old as the
energy.
hills,
Oh, you're not.
and I watch you and you're so young and so full of energy, and
Thank you.
I wish you well.
Thank you so much.
Anybody who's watching this show, if you're watching this show, you're one of us,
Yeah.
meaning you're a good person. Day at a time, everybody.
Yeah.
Day at a
Well,
time.
come on anytime,
Oh,
you
I will.
know?
We have to do the rest of the '70s.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get to '72.
I love it. Come back. We'll go into 72 specific.
Will I ever reach it? Thank you, dear.
Yes. My
It was
absolute
wonderful.
pleasure. Thank you so much, Laura, for being such an incredible guest and for sharing this amazing chat with me about the 70s. I could talk about the 70s all day. It's one of my favorite decades. If you like this episode, share it out with your friends, rate, leave a review. Once again, you know what to do. You've listened to a podcast before. Go listen to Laura's podcast. Everything that you need is down in the show notes. And I just want to give you a little rundown about what's going on the podcast before I sign off. I know I said I was covering Mistborn, but I actually got a request to have a special guest come on and do this as a series with me. And until we get that all sorted out, I'm hitting pause on Mistborn. So I had to do some recalibrating. Okay. So here's what's coming up. On Tuesday, I am doing a Valentine's episode. It'll be a little bit late for Valentine's Day, but it is going to be situationship cinema. We're talking about all sorts of situationships that exist in pop culture and why we love them, and it's going to be a fun episode. Then on the 20th, I have an interview with Trisha Copeland, who is the author of Witches and Vampires. It's a short little novella, but she has a ton of other books that we will be discussing, though we'll be mostly talking about Of Witches and Vampires but I want to look ahead for a minute and give you an opportunity to connect with us over the next book that we are going to be deep diving starting in March. I am going to be deep diving the Boys of Tommen series, starting with Binding 13. If you've never heard of these books, they're incredible. There is currently 6 books out in the world. We're not doing 6 back to back. We are doing Binding 13 that will lead us into Euphoria. So I'm sorry, it's going to be a little bit of a sad girl spring. But we are going to be doing Binding 13. So I just want to give everyone more than enough time to prepare, because I did get some feedback about Mistborn that there wasn't enough time to read the book together. So if you've never read it before, then this is your opportunity. And I will see you for that on March 3rd. And until then, happy Valentine's Day and see you on the flip side.